Hello, everyone. Charles Watts here. Welcome back to Inside Arsenal. It is Sunday. I hope your weekend is going well wherever you're watching or listening to this around the world. It's lovely over here in the UK, just outside London. Looking out the window, blue skies, sunny weather, and the Premier League is very nearly back. Still a couple of days to go, of course, until Arsenal return to action with that game at the Emirates against Fulham. Fulham, who were knocked out of the FA Cup yesterday. Bad result for them. Real big opportunity at home to Crystal Palace, but Crystal Palace's fantastic form continues. Don't say that too loudly to James Bender. Get that smug look on his face, given how he tipped him at the start of the season. Still losing his bet, though, even if they are finishing it in really, really impressive fashion and have now made the FA Cup semi-finals. Yeah, so Fulham coming into Tuesday night's game on the back of a pretty demoralising home defeat, you would think. Whether that plays any part on a Tuesday night's result, we'll have to wait and see. Anyway, we're going to talk about that game in today's show. Look at the big decisions facing Mikel Arteta when it comes to his team selection for that game, including, of course, Bukayo Saka. Does he get involved in the squad? What a big sort of 24 hours or so it's going to be, you would think, at the training ground now for Mikel Arteta as he mulls over that decision over whether Saka is fit enough to feature. You would suggest everyone is hoping that he will be. Still, it's a big decision for Arteta, the coaching staff, and, of course, the medical staff to take. So we'll talk about that. Got some comments, questions from you guys as well. We're going to talk about Martin Zubimendi and the almost constant seesaw of reports certainly coming from Spain about him, which is a bit of a, I don't know, cautionary tale for all of us, I think, in terms of how we view certainly reports we hear from across the continent anyway, when it comes to someone like Martin Zubimendi. First of all, I said yesterday's show, sort of halfway through it, some of you might have watched it, some of you might not, that I'm planning on sitting down tomorrow to speak with Alex Kirkland, the ESPN sort of La Liga-based reporter, who's also an Arsenal fan. He's based over in Spain, and going to speak to him about Andrea Berta tomorrow to do a show on Berta, what he's going to bring to Arsenal, you know, what happened at Madrid, why he ended up leaving, the successes, the maybe the downsides of Berta, sort of a bit of a special to go out after it's announced. Now, there have been whispers that Berta was going to be announced either Friday or over the weekend. I kind of want to speak to Alex after it's been announced. So if it hasn't been announced by tomorrow morning, I might put it off. I don't know, but hopefully not. So if you want me to ask Alex a question on your behalf, I asked this yesterday, got quite a lot in. Again, reply in the comments below with the sort of question you'd want asked to Alex about Andrea Berta, and I'll pull some of them, not all of them. I won't be able to because we'll be on the call for ages with him. So I'll pull some of them together to fire at Alex to get his sort of expert views on Andrea Berta. It's good that he's an Arsenal fan as well, because I think now I add extra insight in terms of what Berta, or what he believes Berta might bring to Arsenal. So keep your eyes peeled for that. I think that's probably going to go out tomorrow afternoon. And also, I think I'm going to do a live show tomorrow after the press conference. Mikel's due to speak at 11, so there's no point in me putting out one of my usual videos, which normally goes live at about 11, because it'll be out of date, because I'll just wait for what Arteta has got to say in his press conference. So I think probably around midday, if you're free, come to the channel, because I'll be going live probably around midday for half an hour, 45 minutes or so. So you want to get involved in a live show tomorrow, reacting to Mikel Arteta's press conference, then keep your eyes peeled on this channel tomorrow. Right, that is enough housekeeping for the start of today's show. Let's talk about the Fulham game, and particularly about Bukayo Saka. It's going to be a really big decision, as I said, for Mikel Arteta. It all depends on how he's been in the last week or so, you know, how the training's gone, how the reintegration into sort of first team training has gone. Obviously, saw lots of pictures that Arsenal put out yesterday of, you know, full training. Saka wasn't involved in any of those pictures, but that obviously doesn't mean that he wasn't involved in the training session. It's just what Arsenal do when there's any sort of injury doubts for players. You know, the sort of focus was on getting Saka available for this game against Fulham. He wants to be involved. He thinks he can be involved. Arsenal are hoping he's going to be involved, but it's all going to come down to a late decision that will be taken probably tomorrow by Arteta and the coaching staff. And it is a difficult decision, or it is a tough decision, because yes, it's Bukayo Saka. Yes, you want him involved in the team, but you don't want to rush him back. It's been such a big injury, you know, sort of first for Bukayo Saka, an injury like this, that the last thing you want to do is bring him back too early. But Arsenal, you know, it's not like they've rushed him back. He's not come back early. This was always a sort of set time that they had planned for him. So it's gone to plan. You know, what Arsenal set out in January or immediately after the operation has gone to plan. And so it's not like he's come back early or they've rushed him back. He's just ready now to be back. So the next phase of that is just getting him back involved. And so it's a big decision for Arteta. Aaron's got in touch about it. He says, on the plans of easing Saka back into the squad, both Fulham and Everton games are one of the toughest fixtures, especially for Arsenal, as we've struggled a lot against these two teams of late. Saka won't start both games, I imagine. Playing him like 20, 30 minutes against Fulham, maybe 45 against Everton. However, I don't want to rule out the possibility of Nwaneri starting against Real Madrid. I think he proved more than enough that he is just a young squad player. He definitely deserves a spot against Real Madrid, and I think it'll be interesting to see how Saka recovers his form quickly. Yeah, I mean, look, Nwaneri's obviously been fantastic, no doubt about it. Nwaneri's form did dip going into the international break. I mean, he didn't even start the game against Chelsea, did he? It was Martinelli and Trossard, I think, started the game then, and Neri was left out of the starting 11 for that. And that wasn't overly surprising because his last 3 league appearances leading up to that Chelsea game were not great. He was struggling to make much of an impact in those games. You think of the United game, the Forest game, he just wasn't really involved. Things weren't really happening for him. The ball was breaking down every time it went out to his side, especially in that game against United, which is to be expected for such a young kid who's played so many minutes, who's made such a big impact, that it's not always going to go that way. You're going to have highs and you're going to have lows. And Nwaneri wasn't in the best of form before the international break. Obviously, he scored a very good goal for England under 21s during the international break. But even if Saka doesn't make it for those games, it wouldn't surprise me if Nwaneri's on the bench, to be honest. And it is Trossard and Martinelli. So, I mean, that's another decision for Arteta to make. But again, about Saka, I think it's definitely, if everything's right and the decision is taken that he is going to be involved against Fulham, I think 20 minutes, 25 at a push. I don't think he'll play 45 minutes against Everton. I think he'll probably then play 30, 35 minutes, come on around the sort of hour mark, something like that. He's not going to play for one half. I'd be very surprised at that against Everton. So I think maybe 20, 25 minutes, then 30, 35 minutes, see how he handles that. Obviously, the big decision then will be, can he start against Real Madrid in the first leg? I imagine Arsenal would definitely want him to start that first leg. Saka will definitely want him to start that first leg. That doesn't mean he will, but I can imagine when they're sitting down at London Colney and they're mapping things out, that is the plan over the next 2 games, to manage his minutes enough that he can get 60 potentially in that first leg against Real Madrid. We'll have to wait and see, but it is obviously a big decision, and it's not the only one Mikel's got to make. Like I said, the sort of Trossard, Nwaneri, Martinelli one is quite a big one as well, because of the form Nwaneri had been in. As I said, he'd had a little dip. There's no doubt about it before the international break. So what do you do here? Do you go with what he, before the Martinelli injury, Trossard and Martinelli had started to strike up a little bit of a form, and you'd seen that they've been combining for goals. Trossard was playing on the left, Martinelli was playing on the right. You think back to some of the games that they were combining, and Martinelli was looking a bit of a threat on the right-hand side. Trossard, like I said, was setting up goals, scoring goals like he did in the Spurs game, setting up the goals like against Aston Villa. So what do you do in that decision for Mikel now that everyone's back? And, we saw a little bit of a sign of it, I think, against Chelsea before the international break. And it'll be interesting to see what Arteta does on Tuesday night in terms of that starting 11. Personally, I would go with one of Martinelli or Trossard on the left, and I would bring Nwaneri back into the side for the game against Fulham. I just think you need your biggest goal threats on the pitch for the majority of the time. And, Martinelli or Trossard, for their qualities, and they do have qualities. Nwaneri, I think right now, is still the biggest goal threat Arsenal have in Bukayo Saka's absence. So you'd probably want to get him on the pitch, and hopefully his confidence to be boosted as well by that goal he scored on the international duty for England under 21s. A lot of people have also got in touch talking about the sort of forward line. I've spoken about it in previous shows in terms of what do you do. I mean, I think Mourinho still starts. I mean, it is another one for Arteta to consider going into the Fulham game. You could potentially play Nwaneri, Trossard and Martinelli in the same team. Play one of them as the forward, Trossard or Martinelli, and then you could have the other two playing out wide. I don't think that will happen. And I know lots of you think it should. And it is on paper anyway, it looks like quite an appealing option. But I just think Mikel, he likes that profile of forward that obviously Kai Havertz was before the injury, and that Mourinho is trying to do in Havertz's absence. Obviously, he's not as big a threat, but he's scoring goals. He's scoring some goals. He scored the win against Chelsea. I just think Mourinho continues to start. The fullbacks is going to be interesting as well in terms of what Arteta does in the build-up to the Real Madrid game and how he manages them against Fulham and against Everton. So I think there are some big decisions for Arteta to make. It's going to be interesting what he says in his press conference yesterday, because I'm sure it'll be tomorrow. Sorry, I'm sure he'll be asked about plenty of this. You got your Marinos, you got your wingers, you got your fullbacks. Those are decisions, and obviously Bukayo Saka's fitness. Let me know what you guys think in terms of the Fulham game. Who would you start? What would your of those sort of the key areas that Arteta's going to be thinking about between now and then? What would your views be on that? Who should play out wide? Who should play at fullback? What would you do with Bukayo Saka? Who plays up front? Let me know your thoughts, and I'll pull them together and include them maybe in tomorrow's show. Moving away from the Fulham game, just talking about Martin Zubimendi, it's been interesting listening to the sort of the reports and also seeing the sort of reaction to the reports that come out. You know, we're still a way away from transfer window being open, of course, but just the way that this Zubimendi deal continues to be a big talking point. And look, I'm talking about it now, so you know I'm probably not helping things by talking about it, and I've talked about it during the week. But as I said the other day, just because stuff was coming out of Spain that Real Madrid had suddenly moved into sort of pole position when it comes to Zubimendi, you know, some of the reactions to that, I had questions. You know, why have we missed out on the Zubimendi deal? And I was saying, look, just calm down. Just because these reports from Spain saying that Real Madrid are now moving into pole position for Zubimendi, it doesn't mean that Arsenal have missed out on him. And now you've seen literally sort of 24 hours, 48 hours on from those reports. Now we're hearing reports from Spain that Arsenal are basically a done deal with Zubimendi and that he is joining. Nothing's going to change that. And it's going to happen very quickly. Real Sociedad want money basically as soon as the season ends so they can start to reinvest it, because they know that Zubimendi is going to Arsenal. So it's just a change within a day or 2 days, the change in how things are reported in Spain at the moment about Zubimendi just kind of shows how you just got to take a little bit of a step back when it comes to all this, the transfer stories at this stage of the season. I thought as myself, James, we were talking about it inside Arsenal at the time, despite what's going on and all the stuff about Real Madrid, you know, Arsenal have always maintained that this is a deal that they think that they can get done. And so much work has gone into it to make sure that they are, or they believe they're at the front of the queue, that Zubimendi does want to come to Arsenal and will come to Arsenal. So we've just got to sort of trust that at the moment and see what happens once the season is done and dusted and this deal can get wrapped up. But, you know, nothing's changed as far as I'm aware when it comes to Zubimendi. Arsenal still believe they're in a very good position to get this done, despite all the stuff that's come out from Spain in the last week or so. And as we've seen in the last 24 hours, you know, things change. The mood changes very quickly. And right now from Spain, it is now being reported Zubimendi done deal with Arsenal, and he will be joining. So let's wait and see how it all pans out. But if I was a betting man, I would still have my money on Arsenal having Zubimendi next season in their squad. Okay, let's move on. When we talked about Fulham Crystal Palace earlier on in the show, very briefly, Sam's got in touch here, said, looking at Eze in the past couple of matches, tonight against Fulham with a superb goal and assist and with a goal on the international break for England, I'm even more in the camp for bringing him to bolster the left-hand side. At 26 and able to defend in a more central and able to be played in a more central midfield role too, do you think he would be the right addition this summer if the money was right? I'm shocked if he doesn't get a big move very soon, as I see it now or never for him. Yeah, I think Eze will definitely move this summer. Will it be to Arsenal? I don't know. Would I like it? I would absolutely not say no to Eze. You know, I think Arsenal absolutely lack a bit of guile, a bit of quality, a bit of someone who can just do something out of nothing, certainly in those central areas. And Eze's got that. We know he's got that. And, you know, I've spoken before that I would like Eze at Arsenal. I think he could work in that left 8 role on occasion. I wouldn't imagine if he signed that he would always be playing there. I think he'd rotate at times, but you know, he's that sort of player who can break a game open just like that, as he did yesterday against Fulham with that goal when he cut in from that sort of left 8 position and bent a lovely finish. And then he set up the goal soon after that for Ismail Assar as well, with good wing play down the left and getting the ball in. So yeah, look, I'd be very happy if Eberechi Eze joined Arsenal in the summer. Just as I would have been last summer if Mikel Arteta had joined Arsenal. They missed out on him, which was really disappointing to me because I thought he would be absolutely perfect for this Arsenal team, and everything he's done since he's gone to Bayern Munich has just cemented that position. And I'm convinced, you know, I really feel like of all the players who've moved in the last 2 years or so, the one that Arsenal really missed out on that they should have gone for, or at least tried to get, was Mikel Arteta. And it wouldn't surprise me if Eze makes his big move, and I feel exactly the same if he goes anywhere else apart from Arsenal. So we'll see where he ends up. I personally, right now, do I think it'll be Arsenal? I've not heard anything to suggest that they're lining that one up, but you know, again, things can move very quickly when it comes to transfers. But I do think I do think this will probably be the summer that we see as a move on from Crystal Palace, and whoever gets him is going to be getting a very, very good player. On the fullbacks, a couple here. One from Paul, one from Phil. Paul says, I think Ben White has a chance of starting versus Real with Timber at left back. Also, he may ditch the Marino experiment if Saka is fit. Phil says, if Ben White is back to his best, especially away to Madrid, I would like to see him at right back and Timber at left back. This is something I've talked about before, and in my head, I was thinking this sounds like a really good idea. My only issue with is this, is that I just don't think Ben White's going to be. I don't think he's ready enough. And, you know, if you're bringing Ben White on to play against Vinny Jr., if he's not 100% fit, I think that's just, you know, you're playing into Real Madrid's hands there. You need a really top one-on-one defender against Vinny Jr. And for all Ben White's qualities, and I love Ben White, you know, we've seen when he comes up against a real direct, tricky winger at times, you think of Matoma, he can get the better of White a little bit. I'd feel more comfortable, I think. The more I think about it, I think I'd feel more comfortable with Timber lining up against Vinny Jr. I think that one-on-one battle will be absolutely great. And then I think that Lewis Skelly, you know, up against Rodrigo on the other side, it will be tough for Lewis Skelly. You know, really, really tough, but, you know, he can handle it. I'm sure he can handle it. So I still think, as much as I love Ben White, I just don't think he's played enough football. I think if he was at the very, very top of his game right now, I think it was something that could easily be considered. But I just don't think he would be able to get the minutes between now and either of these two legs to be at the very, very top of his game. And I think Real Madrid and Vinny Jr. could be able to get the better of him if you did play him out there at right back. So no, for me, as much as I understand why people are suggesting it, I think for me, the sort of state that Arsenal are in and the fitness of the two players involved, I'd be going Timber right back, Lewis Skelly left back for both of these legs, I have to say. Devaj says, just watch Sesko versus Ekitike in the Bundesliga. Man, Ekitike, what a talent. I'm blown away by his performance. He's a defender's nightmare with his dribbling movement. He can create something out of nothing. Sesko is a proper target man who needs more service to flourish, but he's super talented too. Next week, it's Frankfurt versus Spurs. Ekitike will gain more attention to our fans. I'm all in. You're all in already. Yes, what a way that would be for Ekitike to sort of announce himself to Arsenal fans if he knocks Spurs out of the Europa League. I'm just looking, what was it? 1-0 Frankfurt won yesterday. Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen enough of Ekitike. I didn't see that game you're talking about, but, you know, lots of people who have seen him and watch him think he's really, really talented, and he's potentially got the qualities to succeed when he does make his big move. We know he wants a big move this summer. That's all being lined up. His agents are beginning to put the wheels in motion to see who he does move to, and it looks like it could well be the Premier League. I still think if Arsenal are going to go for one of the two, I still feel like Sesko would be the most likely option rather than Ekitike, but we'll have to wait and see on that. And there's one here from Fedaykin Spice Lover 69420, and this is, if anyone can help him out. He asks, Charles, my missus booked us tickets to Bratislava for my birthday, but it's on the same day as the leg in Madrid. Wondering if anyone knows an Arsenal pub in Bratislava I could go straight to when I land. So I just wanted to open that up. If there's anyone based in and around Bratislava who knows a good pub, an Arsenal-based pub where he can go and watch the game, please do get in touch in the comments, and I will include them and I will post them in the next video to help out. I'm sure that's not your real name, but Fedaykin Spice Lover so he can watch the game with his girlfriend for his birthday, because we don't want to see him miss the second leg of that game in Madrid. And that's it from me, everyone, today. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Do have a good end to your weekend. Remember, tomorrow, not going to be the usual show in the morning. There's going to be a live show around lunchtime, probably starting around midday, once Mikel has finished his press conference and I've listened to it and I've pulled everything together, and I'll be jumping on to do a live show reacting to what he's had to say. So make sure you're involved in that. And yeah, any questions for Alex for the Andrea Berta special that I've got planned, you know what to do. Do them in the comments and I'll pull some of them, not all of them, some of them together to ask Alex for his expert view. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Have a great day. Speak to you soon. Bye-bye.